Hello! One can say that people discovered the properties of radiation relatively recently, and they still don't quite understand what they are dealing with. After all, even during the last half a century, there have been several catastrophes that will be forever remembered by mankind. Who knows what the future has in store for us? Useful discoveries in medicine, or new exclusion zones and countless victims? Perhaps, each of us will experience the consequences of human interference in the most delicate matters of nature. The sun is rising over Rome. A man with a gold watch in his hand is running through the narrow streets. Two police officers on a motorcycle are chasing the petty thief, Enzo. He's running out of energy. The fugitive tries to throw off the trail by running through a crowd of peaceful protesters, but that doesn't work. Afterwards, the criminal goes down to the waterfront, where he finds an abandoned crane. Quickly breaking the lock, Enzo hides inside the cabin, but the pursuers are not far behind and come in after him. Exhausted, the thief takes one last option and dives stealthily into the water. This works, and the cops leave with nothing. The criminal lets out a sigh of relief and decides to get out. Disgusted, Enzo makes his way through the floating garbage and manages to find solid footing under the water. But just as he tries to jump up, his foot sinks in. The steel lid breaks, and Enzo gets stuck in a weird yellow barrel. The black, sticky liquid envelops the man from head to toe. After nearly drowning, he pushes himself up to the dock and escapes. All he cares about now is that he has avoided prison. But Enzo quickly realizes that he has bigger problems ahead of him. The barrel contained radioactive waste. Already on the bus, on his way home, he gets sick. The man barely makes it to his apartment, coughing up a black substance. TV runs the story about the difficult situation in Italy. Armed conflicts and terrorist attacks are spreading across Europe. But Enzo doesn't care about this. He is suffering from a terrible fever. The next morning, however, the symptoms disappear. The man washes up and eats breakfast in his shabby apartment. His only solace in this depressing world is his collection of adult movies. But cheap entertainment and a shiny piece of metal don't fill his belly. It's time to exchange the stolen watch for money. Luckily, an experienced criminal, Sergio, lives one floor below, and he can help him sell the goods. The door is opened by the man's daughter, Alessia, who is clearly not happy to see the visitor. Her father is not home. Enzo goes to look for his acquaintance. The lair of the local mafia is located in an inconspicuous back alley, guarded by aggressive dogs. The young and short-tempered Fabio, nicknamed the Gypsy, runs the place. At that moment, he is persuading other gang members to collect a valuable delivery of illegal substances. This is a dangerous and disgusting job. The goods must be taken out of the stomachs of two courier brothers.
Ma che non lo so come vanno a finire certe cose.
Pinocchio, tu non ci hai capito un cazzo.
Pinocchio flatly refuses. His wife is pregnant, and he doesn't want to get framed. Instead, the man suggests robbing the cash collectors. Fabio's right-hand man, Ricardo, doesn't like the arbitrariness either, but the Gypsy still orders Sergio to go to the airport and meet the couriers, who will arrive in 2 hours. The boss has already made a promise to the supplier of the goods, Nunzia, a powerful female mafioso. The Gypsy wants to keep selling substances to take his business to the next level. The others don't share the boss's ambitions in the slightest. At this point, Fabio confesses that he doesn't plan on dying on these streets like his father.
A me sto posto mi fa schifo, sta puzza che merda mi fa schifo.
A me invece sta puzza mi piace, guarda un po'.
He demands that they fulfill his order and then go with them to Nuncia's birthday party to strengthen their business partnership. In response, Ricardo refuses and is about to revolt when he is interrupted by Fabio's lackey. The guy has completed his task and brought his boss a new smartphone. In a rage, the Gypsy yells at the fool. He asked for a black-colored phone, not a white one. This is when the annoyed Pinocchio starts to leave, showing his insubordination. Fabio grabs the hated phone and smashes it on the soon-to-be father's head. He continues striking, drenching everything around him in blood. The lifeless body falls to the floor, and all objections cease. The Gypsy coldly returns the gadget and disinfects his hands. Sergio goes outside, ordering his assistant to clean the room of blood. Enzo meets him and shows him the watch. The mafioso doesn't care about how much the thief had to go through to get it. He is willing to buy the watch for only 100 euros. Enzo has no other choice, and he sluggishly walks away with a single bill. At that point, Sergio remembers the assignment and stops his neighbor. He offers him to earn some money and invites him to his place. Enzo walks into the apartment with weird children's drawings hanging on the walls. Sergio places soap and a colander on the table. He's going to take them on the case. The man goes into another room to look for laxatives. Alessia approaches Enzo. The girl is clearly disturbed. She constantly watches the anime Steel Jig and believes that all its characters exist in the real world. Her father and Enzo, in her opinion, are also part of the imaginary universe where a robot superhero fights against evil. Alessia asks her father for a princess dress so she can become Steel Jig's sidekick. She seems to suffer from an eating disorder as well, because eventually her angry father finds laxatives on her nightstand. On the way to the airport, Sergio explains that his daughter became like this after the death of her mother. The gloomy Enzo is not particularly interested in talking. He has no family, nor is he expecting to have one. The life of a thief has no meaning. It is a constant game of survival, which will inevitably end in prison or the grave. Enzo has no friends either. In the criminal world, people are ready to betray you at the first opportunity. The couriers safely pass the inspection and get into the car. Sergio brings everyone to a construction site where they will need to get the goods out of the brothers. The water hoses are only available on the 9th floor, and one of the couriers becomes very ill. His brother demands to take them to the hospital, but in response gets punched in the face. Business first, everything else later. Enzo helps drag the sick guy upstairs, where he collapses to the floor. The guy starts convulsing, with foam pouring out of his mouth. One of the bags inside him has burst, and the man dies in his brother's arms. Sergio goes to get a knife to perform an autopsy, but the second courier won't let him do it. He yells that the deceased must be buried, honoring ancient traditions. Sergio doesn't listen, threatening to kill him. That's when the guy snatches a gun from the mobster's belt and shoots him several times. Dying, the man attacks the assailant and smashes his head against the wall. With the last shot, the courier hits Enzo in the shoulder, who was standing on the edge of a concrete slab. The thief plummets down and falls to the ground from the 9th floor. He stops breathing, but a few minutes later, Enzo returns to life. Not believing his luck, he gets up and, in shock, flees from the crime scene. Meanwhile, Fabio is having fun at the club. The eccentric boss performs on stage in front of Nuncia, trying to impress her. The formidable birthday girl continues to sit in her chair with a stone face. She is only interested in business. Immediately after the show, Fabio is distressed by the news of Sergio's disappearance, along with all the goods. Nuncia and her accomplice approach the singer. The gypsy skillfully conceals the unpleasant fact, convincing the mafia leader that the affair went well. He intends to solve the problem on his own. Meanwhile, Enzo returns home, where he meets Alessia. The girl sits on the stairwell, endlessly watching anime as usual. She tries to find out where her father is, but the guy lies that he knows nothing. Alessia notices drops of blood on the man's hand and accuses him of abandoning Sergio.
Che non sai che si tradiscono amici?
Io non so, io da nessuno.
Allora, dal Signore del Fuoco.
Enzo retires to his room, where he examines the bullet hole. Alessia continues to persistently ring the bell and knock. The man can't take it anymore and angrily hits the door with his fist. The powerful blow smashes through it, shocking Enzo and frightening Alessia. The girl runs away, while the man tests the limits of his new abilities. With just one hand, he launches the wardrobe to the other end of the room and then easily rips a radiator off the wall and bends it in half. The thief's mind quickly starts to come up with ideas. Enzo puts on a mask and goes to an ATM. In just a few moves, a machine full of money is in his hands. Security cameras record the crime, but the man quickly escapes into the darkness before the police arrive. Since there was an ink bomb in the ATM, the criminal has to clean the bills at home and hang them on clotheslines. After getting enough clean bills, Enzo fills the refrigerator with food for the first time in his life. After undressing, he finds that his bullet wound has completely healed as well. In just one day, his life has become something he could have never dreamed of. Suddenly, Enzo's elation gets interrupted by a loud scream coming from the neighbor downstairs. He goes out into the staircase, where he sees Alessia interrogated by Fabio and his accomplices. They want to know where her father has gone, but the girl swears she knows nothing. She repeats phrases from the animated show again, and the gangsters decide that the girl is nuts. Alessia also mentions the man who mistreated her as a child, and that her father's friend didn't protect her. Fabio hears this and wants to know more about everybody who Sergio has been in contact with. He notices Enzo on the stairs, eavesdropping on the conversation, and rudely tells him to get out. Afterward, the boss orders his henchmen to search the apartment and drags Alessia inside. The girl desperately resists when she sees them rummaging through her belongings. For doing so, she gets beaten and molested. Fabio holds a cleaver to her face when suddenly a masked man jumps in through the window. The stranger is not afraid of punches and easily scatters the gangsters. The gypsy demands to let them go, threatening to cut off Alessia's head. Enzo complies, and the girl deftly hits Fabio and slips out of his hold. As his last move, the gypsy throws a cleaver, which sticks in his opponent's foot. The criminals escape through the door. Enzo grimaces in pain and takes off his shoe. His pinky toe got completely sliced off. Limping, he tries to quickly get away.
Ci po'. Aspetta, ma quando se ribeccamo?
But Alessia has already recognized her neighbor in the vigilante and asks if she can come over to his place. She laughs when she sees bills all over his apartment and says that superheroes aren't supposed to steal. Of course, Enzo doesn't care about all this cartoon nonsense. He tapes his pinky to his foot, hoping it will stick. But the stubborn Alessia continues to see him as Steel Jeeg and asks him to save people from villains like he did today. As she talks about the rest of the characters in the universe, she confuses reality and fiction again. This time, she mentions a psychiatrist who was taking pictures of his young female patients in a swimming pool's changing room. It seems that even the cold-hearted Enzo is beginning to realize what's going on here. Alessia keeps asking about her father, hoping that the hero will save him. Enzo hides the truth again, and then asks the girl to stay with him so that the gangsters don't come back for her. At night, the presence of the young woman in his house keeps the man awake, so Enzo goes out for a smoke. In his jacket, he finds the case from Sergio's glasses, inside of which is a detailed plan for robbing the cash collectors. In the morning, the guy wakes up to Alessia closely studying his collection of adult movies. A surprised Enzo turns off the TV and checks his pinky toe. This time, the magic didn't work. The man has lost his toe for good. Afterward, he asks if the girl has any acquaintances or relatives who can take her in, but Alessia has absolutely nobody, and the only place that can accommodate her turns out to be a psychiatric hospital. In the past, the girl spent a lot of time there. Her criminal father took poor care of her and left her there for long periods of time. The prospect of giving the orphan to strangers works for Enzo. They arrive at the hospital, but Alessia begs him not to leave her. To make her relax, Enzo promises to come back and bring her the princess dress, and it works. At parting, the girl shows him an unfinished mask of Steel Jeeg, which she has been knitting with her own hands. After making the false promise not to steal anymore, Enzo leaves the asylum. Meanwhile, the video of the masked strongman stealing an ATM has gone viral. Fabio recognizes the stranger as the one who attacked them the day before. The boss urgently needs to find money to pay Nuncia for the missing goods, and this super criminal could be a big help in this endeavor. Ricardo asks Fabio to simply inform his partner of the problem or borrow the money, but the arrogant mafioso isn't going to budge and intends to do things his way. They are going to rob the cash collectors.
Io la sciansegno. Come sto coglione so io tu.
Fabio returns to his lair, where he is met by Nuncia's men. They were the first to find Sergio's body, but do not say anything about the goods. The gypsy promises to pay back the money soon. Enzo, however, is also planning to attack the collectors. At home, he studies the plans and maps, and afterwards discovers that Alessia has left a disc with the anime in his DVD player. The man decides not to turn off the cartoon and watches it with interest. The next day, Fabio and his henchmen take up positions at an intersection. A truck appears from around the corner, but it is intercepted by Enzo. He throws bricks at the vehicle with tremendous force and then jumps on its roof. After throwing out the guard, he rips open the back door with his bare hands and pulls out a bag of money. Fabio climbs out of the bushes and starts furiously firing his machine gun. But the thief is too far away and all the bullets fly past him. The mobsters drag the boss away, and Enzo runs away with the loot. He returns home, where he plans to continue watching all episodes of Steel Jeeg on the new projector. Suddenly, he hears the doorbell ring and sees a police car under the window. After some thought, Enzo opens the door. It turns out that the officers found Alessia on the street. She was asking for help. The girl had escaped from the hospital and lied that she lives with Enzo. The man scolds her for her recklessness. He asks the girl to return to the psychiatric clinic, but Alessia demands that he find and save her father. She gives Enzo the finished Steel Jeeg mask and notices anime discs on the couch. Overjoyed, the girl asks to stay so they can watch the series together. The man gives in to her pleas. They sit down on the couch, and Alessia takes Enzo's hand. He reaches for her, but the girl suddenly bursts into hysterics. Alessia falls to the floor, shielding herself from the dark figure with her arms, and screams that she's in pain.
Io non te volevo fare.
Enzo steps into the light comforting the girl and gently hugging her. The violent scene that traumatized her in the past stops tormenting her. At night, Fabio doesn't show up for his meeting with Nunzia. In the morning, he sees graffiti on his hideout with the strong guy stealing an ATM machine. Enraged, he chases the artist away with stones. In the meantime, Enzo takes Alessia to an amusement park that she mentioned in her delirium. The place is now abandoned. The girl remembers going here as a child with her parents. They were still in love back then. Enzo once again can't find the strength to say what really happened to Sergio. Using his power, he accelerates the Ferris wheel and gives Alessia a ride on it. The girl is happy like a child. At this time, Ricardo can't stand it anymore and reveals the truth to Nunzia. He goes to borrow money and solve the problem by himself. Furious Fabio, greedy for power, orders to unleash Rottweilers on his old friend. The dogs maul Ricardo to death. Alessia and Enzo walk through a shopping mall in search of the princess dress she has always dreamed of. The girl sees the characters of the anime series in the visitors and tells Enzo the details of their lives. This makes the weary criminal smile and think about those he could protect with his new powers. Alessia does manage to find a suitable dress for herself and invites the man into the locker room. She places Enzo's hand on her chest.
Che?
Il mio cuore. Quando mi sei vicino, mi fa bim bum bam.
They draw closer, kiss, and give in to the passion of the moment. Enzo seems to have rushed things a bit, and Alessia doesn't feel right. She is angry and says that the hero must fulfill his mission and save her father. In a rage, Enzo blurts out that Sergio is dead. The girl can't believe it and accuses the man of not caring about others. She runs away. Meanwhile, news of the super criminal spreads around the world. Fabio is extremely jealous of his fame and plans to outshine him at any cost. Enzo catches up with Alessia, who has already boarded a tram. Without thinking about the consequences, he lifts the vehicle and prevents it from leaving. The shocked passengers recognize him as the powerful man from the video. Enzo goes inside and apologizes to Alessia. He has really given up trying to help himself and others a long time ago. The man asks her to teach him to do things differently and promises to take Alessia to her father. The girl agrees, warning him that a hero needs to wear a mask. Enzo carries her out in his arms, getting caught on cameras. Suddenly, an explosion sounds in the distance, and people turn their attention to the terrorist attack. Meanwhile, Fabio eventually decides to borrow money. To do this, he meets one of his dealer buddies, with whom he has more than just a business relationship. Nunzia and her accomplices catch them at a wrong time. After shooting the dealer, they tie up Fabio and take the money. The Gypsy is doused with gasoline and threatened with death for his disrespect. Nunzia stops at the last moment, saving the insolent man's life. But at this point, Fabio's wounded friend rises up and starts a gunfight. As a result, only the Gypsy and his dealer survive, while the wounded Nunzia leaves with the money. In a rage, Fabio kills his buddy, who has completely ruined his plans. Afterward, he returns to his lair, where he discovers that his entire gang has been brutally massacred. He sees the news on TV, where they announce that the identity of the supercriminal has been revealed. Fabio recognizes Enzo's face, together with his only surviving accomplice, nicknamed the Boar. He sets out to find him. Enzo and Alessia visit the morgue, where the daughter says goodbye to her father. The man notices a tattoo on the corpse's chest that the girl mentioned. Apparently, her father was indeed a terrible man, which didn't stop Alessia from loving him. They return home, and Enzo hastily packs his things to hide from the unwanted commotion. Under the cover of night, he puts Alessia on a motorcycle and drives her away. Fabio was waiting for them and sets off after them. The companions stop at a hotel, where Enzo tells Alessia about his childhood. Back then, he still had friends. The girl Enzo was in love with was hit by a car, and his buddies started robbing and using illegal substances at an early age, so many of them died before reaching adulthood. Enzo was lucky to survive, but the emptiness and pain in his soul had completely robbed the man of hope. It is only now that he's starting to feel happy again. Alessia is pleased to hear that.
Ciao, mi stai parlando come se fossi la donna tua. Ma io mica sono la donna tua.
She invites him to lie down next to her, but suddenly discovers that her DVD player with cartoons is missing. Usually, Alessia can't fall asleep without it, but now she is able to relax without the anime. Laying her head on Enzo's chest, the girl closes her eyes. All of a sudden, they are interrupted by the ringing of the hotel phone. Enzo picks up the phone, and Fabio bursts into the room with a tranquilizer dart. He jabs it into the man's shoulder, and he quickly passes out. The Boar grabs Alessia. Later, Fabio wakes Enzo up. The man is securely bound with several layers of duct tape, and his powers are not enough to free himself. Fabio threatens to take Alessia's life unless Enzo reveals how he got his powers.
Ma che ne so? T'ha musicato un agno, pipistrello. Sei cascato da un altro pianeta.
It seems that Enzo really doesn't know what happened to him, but Fabio insists. He begins to enthusiastically reveal his plans. The madman wants to set off a series of explosions and take over Italy once he gets the secret to superhuman strength. After hearing Alessia screaming again, Enzo surrenders and brings Fabio to the shore. The boss wants to find out more before he gets into the muddy water. Plus, the whole story seems suspicious to him. He orders Enzo to retrieve the barrel from the bottom. In the meantime, the boar harasses Alessia, and the girl stabs him in the neck with a knitting needle. The mobster loses consciousness, and Nunzia and her men arrive at the embankment. Fabio starts shooting back, ordering Enzo to finish them off. Alessia runs out of the nearby van, which she was being held in, and goes down to the river as well. Fabio takes her hostage, but both are immediately hit by a barrage of bullets. This time, Nunzia does set the gypsy on fire alive after all, and then pushes him into the water. Enzo runs up to the wounded Alessia. The girl is dying in his arms.
Salvali tutti. Tu che puoi.
Grief overwhelms Enzo. He weeps over her body, unable to believe what has happened. The next morning, a charred Fabio climbs ashore. He lucked out and fell into the radioactive waste, getting his superpowers. His face is now disfigured though, and he is forced to wear a wig and makeup. With the smile of a maniac, he arrives at Nunzia's residence. Dancing, the gypsy kills everyone present and captures the last tango with the boss of the group on camera. Afterward, he discovers a huge amount of explosives and weapons in the basement. Apparently, it was Nunzia who was behind the terrorist attacks. Enzo, who has lost the meaning of life again, is wandering along the highway. He doesn't care about being hit or seen, and soon the police get on his tail. While trying to get around the policeman, a woman and her daughter overturn their car. The vehicle catches fire, and the girl finds herself trapped inside. Enzo sees this and rushes to the rescue. He rips the trunk door off and pulls the girl out a second before the explosion. The mother thanks the savior in tears, and Enzo's will to live awakens again. He recalls Alessia's last words and sees the frightened eyes of the people around him. Suddenly, on the screen of a local diner, the man sees a report in which Fabio addresses the people of Rome.
È arrivato il momento di far botto più grosso di tutti I botti che vi potete immaginare.
Enzo remembers how Fabio, agitated, told him about his intention to blow up a soccer stadium. He asks a motorcyclist to lend him his bike and goes to the stadium. As his alias, he takes the name of the anime character. Enzo arrives at the place where the crowded stands are already buzzing with life. He lifts part of the fence and goes inside, noticing Fabio with a cell phone in his hands. The perpetrator has already managed to plant the explosives, and only one button separates them from disaster. He charges at the enemy, but Fabio gives him a good fight, not yielding to the protagonist in the slightest. They exchange blows, destroying the columns and walls around them. The mutants themselves don't appear the least bit beaten up. Fabio runs away with the phone to stop Enzo from preventing the explosion. He runs into the stands and gets lost in the crowd. Enzo manages to catch up with the fugitive and knock the remote control out of his hands.
Cannata mare, zingaro. Se vuoi diventare famoso ti conviene tornare a fare l'imitazione del grande fratello.
Fabio fights back again and jumps over the fence. In the street, the police try to stop him, but to no avail. Enzo jumps down after him, falling from a great height again. Fabio manually activates the explosives hidden in the ambulance. The mafioso flees while Enzo gets behind the wheel and uses his hot wiring skills. He manages to start the car and drive away. However, he gets blocked by the police on the way. Enzo doesn't manage to explain his plans to them, so he gets out of the car and takes the bomb into his hands. Distracting his pursuers with the ambulance, Enzo runs towards the river. There's only a minute and a half left on the timer, but the water is getting closer. Enzo throws the explosive forward, but Fabio gets in the way. The bomb misses the river and falls on the busy sidewalk. Having stunned his opponent, the gypsy runs forward, taking possession of the deadly device. In a last-ditch effort, Enzo wraps his arms around Fabio and the bomb and flies with him into the water off the bridge. The gypsy tries to reach the explosive and throw it ashore, but the bomb runs out of time. A deafening explosion occurs, and Fabio's severed head flies onto the bridge. People flee in panic. Enzo's body is never found, and he is presumed dead. A news report discusses his controversial past and honors him as a hero. A figure stands on top of the Colosseum, looking over Rome. Enzo Cicotti puts on the mask of steel jig, knitted for him by Alessia. The actor Claudio Santamaria, who played the main character, previously voiced Batman in the Italian dubbing of Christopher Nolan's trilogy. And the voiceover of the journalist in the last scene belongs to Adriano Giannini, who dubbed the Joker. Luca Marinelli, who played Fabio, said he was inspired by the character of Buffalo Bill, the maniac from the movie Silence of the Lambs. Steel Jig is a real anime that was released in Japan almost 50 years ago and consists of 46 episodes. In it, Hiroshi Shiba, a young car racer, gets fatally wounded. His father brings the guy back to life with the help of an ancient artifact. Thus, he becomes a cyborg that can control a huge robot, which is named Steel Jig. As always, look for the name of the movie in the description of the video. In the meantime, let us know in the comments. Do you think a criminal can change and become a hero? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like so that more awesome stories come out as often as possible.